Hello, and welcome to the Venue Coach Blueprint for Owners. I'm Kyle Labar. This podcast is all about helping you fill your wedding venue with more bookings, earn more from each one, and keep your customers happy for a long time. We'll also talk about some tough times and big lessons that I've learned along the way. Let's dive in together and make your venue the best spot for weddings. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Venue Coach, and in today's episode I'm going to do a quick case study on lessons that we learned from a challenging event and what we did to rise above it and bounce back and that sort of thing. So without further ado, let's dive in. So in this specific example, what had happened, what had happened was uh, we we were in the middle of building our chapel, and for one reason or another, a certain promise had been made that the chapel would be ready by this couple's um, wedding date, and due to delays in weather, delays in materials, that sort of thing, it was coming up that it likely wouldn't be ready during that time. So and the big thing that we looked at when we were realizing that I don't think this is going to be ready. So we were talking with our builder. We were talking with it was in the finishing stages, so it wasn't like it didn't exist. We had everything, but it needed to be painted. It needed to have the finishings and all the light fixtures, things like that. And so we were just a few weeks behind schedule. And what we wound up doing was we met with the couple or with their family early. Like as soon as we realized that it wasn't going to happen, we said, "Hey, we need to meet and we need to talk about what's going on with the chapel." And so they weren't very happy or thrilled about the news that the chapel wasn't going to be available, or rather that it wasn't going to be ready. But what we did was we took a collaborative approach instead. And so our mindset was, hey, let's work with them on finding a good solution because their whole thing was they wanted to be like the bride wanted to be married in the chapel. And so we were trying to figure out alternate solutions. Maybe they could go to our other venue because it was open during that day or available. But again, it was down to the chapel. And so instead, what we took the collaborative approach and we said, what could we do to make this as good as we can, given the circumstances? And then we just worked with the family on what that might look like and see if there isn't some way that we can um, basically just make sure that it's taken care of. And so the the big thing that we learned from that one, well, to finish the story, so on the day of, or leading up to it, the week of, we had to clean up all of the sawdust, all of the construction materials, everything, get it all out of there. And then we painted the walls white, at least the front wall or front back wall, the wall that they would be against while doing the ceremony to sort of photograph well, that sort of thing. So we painted that, and then we covered all of the non-painted wall surface and ceiling surface with drapery. And so we actually wound up eating a lot of that. Like we had to pay for those things. We weren't gonna ask the couple or the family to pay for that. And so we had to wind up eating that cost. And honestly, that's just a small price to pay for making sure that we fulfill our promises. And so on the day of, they came in, they saw the decoration, they saw, wow, this is really beautiful, and they were just excited by how it turned out. So while it wasn't an ideal situation for either party, we came together, we met early, and so we didn't like drop this bomb on them the week of their wedding. You know, because then you're keeping secrets, right? We don't play the secret game. We don't keep secrets. We, especially when it's something like this, we were prompt and forthcoming with the information once we knew that it wasn't going to be done. There's just no way. Then we had the conversation. So we waited until we got to that point where we knew for sure, which nothing wrong with that, but we as soon as we knew, we got on the phone, we got them to come out to the venue, and then we started talking game plan. So the key takeaway that we had from this was like own your crap. If you're making promises, keep them. If you can't keep them like do something. Make sure you're keeping your promises. Do what you say you're going to do. And if it's impossible to do that, then work with your client to figure out what's the next best solution. The other takeaway that we had was don't make promises we don't know that we can keep. And that's just the reality of it. But the biggest lesson that we learned was we can still turn a bad situation into a positive. And by the way, at the end of the night, next day, we got great reviews from the family. They were just over the moon, happy with how it turned out. And they were even happier with the fact that we took care of this problem and handled it in the way that we did. And so the biggest takeaway that we had is being collaborative with your couples, especially if a problem arises that's on the venue side. Talk with them, work it out, come up with a game plan, be in a problem solving mindset, and not a well this is how it is and that's your problem to deal with. Like that's not going to get you anywhere. And so we took the problem solving approach. We ate the bullet on some of the costs, like well all the extra costs. We ate the bullet on that. We took that. And that I think that like all of that, it just made all the difference. And so it turned it from a probably like a several one-star review situation to an elated, just over the moon happy family. Like this was a family affair. It wasn't just the couple. It was their parents. It was all grandparents. All of this, and so it just made such a big difference in how they looked at us because things go wrong and things don't always go the way we want them to, but it's how we respond to them and how we react and how we take care of things even when they go wrong that really matter. And so I hope this has been very useful for you and that you've been able to gain some insights, or maybe there's something in your venue that you've had a similar situation, and I hope that if the situation does arise where something went wrong with the venue and you can fix it, you just talk about it early with your couple, problem solve, and come up with good solutions that's going to be a win-win for both. And sometimes it's not a win for you. Sometimes it's just a win for them. And that's just how it has to be in some instances. Like, it wasn't ideal for us to have to pay for all the decoration, all the drapery to cover our chapel on the inside to make sure that it looked presentable. To spend 2 days tearing down construction equipment and cleaning and sweeping and all this stuff to make sure that it looked good, and then to 2 days for 2 days after the event putting all that stuff back out. Like that was a major inconvenience for us. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. It wasn't about us, and we needed to live up to our word. So I hope this was useful for you. If you found it to be so, please subscribe and stay tuned for the next one. I'll see you there.